Hey everybody, Brendan here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be covering my 123rd tournament game. I just finished my first two rounds with pretty good results. I believe the first round I ended up beating a national master, and then the second round I ended up drawing a international master. Probably should have won that game, but hey, in hindsight, uh, hindsight's 2020, so you can't really complain too much about that, and it's an amazing result. So now I am playing a FIDE master who is rated 2216 CFC. Let's get into the game. So e4, I ended up playing c5 here, knight to f3, and I thought I would change things up here. Instead of going for d6, because I was so tired of bishop b5 check lines, I played knight c6. Probably shouldn't have played this on the whim against the FIDE master, but I was feeling quite confident because I was playing this a little bit online at the time. So bishop to b5, g6, bishop takes c6, and d takes c6 here. So this was just kind of the line that I really liked playing. B takes is also quite interesting, mainly because, well, when you can play moves like d5, you get a huge center. But I was a little bit less confident in how the lines should play out at this point in time. So I ended up just playing d takes c6, which I think is a totally fine way to play. d3, bishop to g7, h3, just to prevent any bishop g4 action, right? Because sometimes this bishop can find it hard to move anywhere. I ended up playing e5 here. We see bishop to e3, just this normal move b6, just to help control and protect everything with especially the c5 square. And now, it gives the bishop the b7 square as well, just in case if you need it, or even bishop to a6. It's unlikely that you'll use it, but it's there now. a3, and a3 is directly contributing to this idea of b4. There is also the way of playing a4 and trying to go for a5, also trying to kind of break down this construction here. But they went for a3 instead, which is a bit more direct, trying to go for b4 and kind of chip away at my center a little bit. For example, if this pawn ever takes, maybe they can get in a quick d4. So now we see queen to e7, just trying to make b4 a little bit less appetizing. Knight b to d2, knight to f6. This is another reason why I thought queen e7 would be nice. But it wasn't completely necessary. In fact, queen c7 might have been a better try, and then going for moves like knight f6 or knight e7, just because when the queen is on c7, it allows for a move like bishop to e6 without the queen being blocked. When the queen's on e7, the bishop cannot go to e6. So queen e7, knight to f6, queen to b1, and this is clearly with the intention of going b4. So a5, which was just kind of in hindsight just not a good move. The problem with a5 is now it actually does weaken this construction so much more. The pawn does want to stay on a7. Whether or not it looks like a pretty move, it is kind of what's needed here. So knight c4, knight b to d7, or knight f to d7, my apologies, even though there's not even another knight on the board. Knight d7 also works. I could just say that. And now b4. And this is exactly what the problem was. I played queen e7 and a5 to prevent b4, and now it can be played, and it's quite strong here. The problem is after a takes b4, rook takes a1, and queen takes a1. If I take on b4, well then b6 hangs, and this is just not good for me. So they ended up playing knight takes b6 immediately. I thought in the game that queen to a8 looked quite annoying, with the idea of queen takes on c6 here and then taking on b6. Practically this looks like a stronger way to play, although the way my opponent ended up playing with knight takes b6 is actually totally fine as well. So now we see knight takes b6, bishop takes, and I end up castling here. Probably f6 would have been useful, but I wasn't too certain on whether or not I should be doing this. So queen a5, bishop f8, just to defend everything, and then play king f7 and bishop e7 like this. Where ultimately black should be worse, but again in the game I thought this might have been a better try. So I ended up castling. Queen a5, and now there's not really a way to avoid this move of bishop to c5, which is a bit of a problem. So I play rook e8, so I'm not losing in exchange. Bishop c5, and I will be losing this pawn now. Queen e6, bishop takes b4, h6, castles, king to h7. With the idea of kind of going for some sort of like King's Indian play. I thought this is maybe my best chance, and I think that's not an unreasonable thing to think here, because I am objectively lost at this point. So if I can create some counterplay with f5 and maybe even f4, g5, g4, then I should probably go for it. Rook a1, f5, queen c7, and after queen c7, I was kind of scared because I have to be very, very careful of just problems on the 7th rank here. So I go queen f6, preempting rook a7, which would have before threatened mate. Now it's not. They go rook a7. I take on e4. And this is another reason why it was a good move to play queen f6, is because if they didn't play rook a7, then there was a chance I could have played bishop takes h3 here. Of course, now it doesn't work, so I go for g5 with the idea of going for g4 right after. They go bishop c3, and now they're threatening the e5 pawn. Unfortunately, yeah, the hope is... like, there's not much hope in the position. So I try king g6. Of course, they can take on e5. Not much I can do about that. And I was expecting them just to maybe take on c8. I didn't see anything really wrong with that. But they actually ended up playing queen f7 check instead, forcing king to h7, rook e7, queen to b2, and then just king h2, preempting any problems there. I was also looking at e5, which is kind of the more tempting move here, because, well, now it cuts off the protection of the queen and the bishop here. But the problem that I thought there was this queen c1 check, followed by queen f4 check. Realistically, this probably should be lost, but there's a little bit more work to do, I think. Actually, after bishop takes e5, which is what I wanted to play, there is this problem, actually. So, yeah, that does not work. Okay, that's good to know. My bad. All right. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, bishop takes e5 isn't even possible, and so I'm just losing a piece here, which is very unfortunate. So king h2, preempting anything, I go king h8, just so they don't have any strange checks, but of course they are winning regardless here. So they go queen g6, now with the threat of rook e8, which is very strong. I go bishop to e5 check, g3, bishop takes g3, and this is kind of just like a last ditch effort for a potential trick. So for example, after king takes, my hope was that I could get something like queen to c3 check, or if they go king g2, now I can take on h3, and it's actually a draw now, which is really nice. And lastly, if they take like this, then this looks very promising and is actually just a draw as well. But of course, after king g2, there's nothing. I tried bishop takes h3 because you never know if they'll end up taking. Of course, here, queen c3 check. Now f3, which is another line before, where queen e1 check was playable. But now king h3 check, and they actually do escape, which is kind of crazy. So, yeah, after bishop takes h3 and king takes h3, there's no more checks in the position. It's just going to be mate in one. Not much to do here. And so I ended up resigning. That was totally fine. I got kind of outplayed there, and I didn't understand the intricacies of the construction of just this pawn structure. So I kind of got taken for a ride here, and there's not much I could have done about it. All things considered, I think I played like okay, but this middle game definitely could have been improved. But I did put up some resistance. So yeah, that's going to cover it for this game. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, bye-bye.